Oh my gosh. This is my house.
Whose lives matter? His lives matter!
484 new cases of the coronavirus in Oregon in one day.
We are searching for answers, for solidarity, for justice, for change. We are watching a world that is challenged. We are facing loss, despair, and uncertainty. We are holding our breath and waiting. In these times where the questions are as fundamental as freedom, the health of our planet, the community we hold dear, and even the air that we breathe, is there a way we can change our world by changing who we are? Could the giving of ourselves, looking beyond our personal wants and needs, help us all find a new way forward? KGW and TEDxPortland present a one-hour special on kindness and community, an exploration of how we all have the power to make positive change.
Hello, I'm Brenda Braxton from KGW. Welcome to the second in a series of collaborations with TEDxPortland. This has been a year of great challenges, and we face many questions, both together as a community and each one of us as individuals. If you're not familiar with TEDx and TEDxPortland, their events are all about ideas shared, about community, personal stories, and celebration. In our first collaboration with TEDxPortland in June of 2020 called History and Hope, we explored social justice in the wake of the killing of George Floyd. And we explored what it means to be a city suddenly shut down in a pandemic and how it challenges the fabric of community. 2020 has certainly been a roller coaster, but difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. The struggle we're experiencing today is developing the strength we'll need for tomorrow. Tonight's special focuses on kindness. Can you run a city, budgets, transportation, and social services on a platform of kindness? Anaheim Mayor Tom Tait centered his administration on kindness and saw the community grow and become less divided. Also on this program, Ideas Revisited. Past speakers and alumni from the TEDx stage share ideas relevant to our world. For the next hour, sit back and be inspired. Enjoy.
I suppose you're wondering why a former Anaheim mayor is here today in Portland at TEDx. It's because I have an idea worth sharing. The idea is kindness is contagious. When we create a culture of kindness in our cities, in our schools, in our businesses, in our neighborhoods, in our families, literally everything gets better. Probably the best way for me to explain this is how I came across the idea in the first place. My story is that back in 1994, I was actually appointed to the Anaheim City Council, and I served there for 10 years. Then 2004, last year on the City Council, I noticed signs around town that said, simply make kindness contagious. It didn't say buy anything or anything like that. It didn't have another message, just simply make kindness contagious. So I had a chance to meet the fellow who put those signs up. And he came to my office, and his name was Dr. Jayevsky. And he told me a story about how he'd gone on a vacation and they had lost their young daughter, Natasha, to an accident. And when they had her funeral, the entire community came out, and her school and neighbors and friends. They talked about Natasha and how other kids might have been playing video games and doing whatnot, but Natasha was always talking and writing about kindness. So then Dr. Jayevsky said to me, he said, in medicine, you can either treat the symptoms or you can stimulate the body to heal from within holistically. Then he said, I think the same principle applies to a city. You can either treat the symptoms or you can stimulate the city to heal from within holistically. He said, I think that has something to do with kindness. So for me, sitting there, after 10 years of being on the city council, treating symptoms, I call it the whack-a-mole game of symptom treating, the light bulb went off. And I knew he was right. So I ran on a platform of kindness, and I won by a large margin. And once I got elected, as probably a lot of people do, you start that first day of office and I go, okay, I ran on this platform, now what do we do? So we had to come up with some ideas. And one was an idea called Hi Neighbor. And it's simply neighbor meeting neighbor. It's important, there's important municipal reasons for that. One is public safety. The whole idea of community policing is based on people being connected. Also, emergency preparedness. We all know we're one day closer on the West Coast to that big earthquake. It's important that we're connected before that happens. And if the first time you're relying on your neighbors is when that event happens, we're all in trouble. It builds resiliency. It builds resiliency in a community. And the way people meet people, the way people connect in life and in neighborhoods is through acts of kindness. You think about it. That's what brings people together. The kindness is the mortar that holds the bricks together. If you're in a community or a neighborhood that's connected through acts of kindness, and there's studies that show this, not that we need studies, because we all know it, but people are happier. They're happier and more content when they care for their neighbor and their neighbor cares for them. All this happens through acts of kindness, but you have to be purposeful of it. It doesn't happen on its own. After we came up with the Hi Neighbor program, we came up with this idea of doing 1 million acts of kindness. And we knew we had to be led by the kids. So we went to the Anaheim Elementary School District, about 25,000 kids, and we asked them to do 1 million acts of kindness. And they did. Each school did about 45 to 50,000 acts, and we got to 1 million. And I could tell you it changed the schools. Everything got better. One school, one of the more challenging neighborhoods in our city, the principal told me that the calls to the principal were cut in half for bullying. District-wide suspensions were cut in half. Some of these schools even came up with this idea of a buddy bench. Imagine being at a school where kids would go up and it was culture to ask that kid to come play with them or share lunch with them. You think about any organization, you think about any business, what creates its value? It's the culture. If people come in with a culture of kindness, I think everything gets better. So the kids were doing their 1 million acts of kindness, and then I get a call from the emissary for peace for the Dalai Lama, a man named Lama Tenzin. He said he heard about the 1 million acts of kindness and the City of Kindness initiative in Anaheim, and asked me to go visit the Dalai Lama in Dharamsala, India. I thought maybe it would be a brief visit. Turns out to be a 3-day visit with His Holiness, and of all people, Archbishop Desmond Tutu. When I was there, His Holiness the Dalai Lama told me that he believes the path to world peace is creating a culture of kindness in our cities, and particularly our schools. And he said, I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life to that. And he asked me, he said, will you help me? And of course, what do you say to the Dalai Lama when he asks you that? Of course. And I am. It is the path to world peace. Also, when I was there, the Dalai Lama took me aside and said, you know, what you're doing in Anaheim is a good start. And I gotta say, when he said that, I thought, well, I thought it was a little bit better than a good start. But he says, it's a good start, but you have to work at it. He said, if you don't work at it, you'll become a city of anger and city of fear. The Dalai Lama also believes that we're all born with kindness in us. But we also have, I believe we have anger and fear in us. So if you don't work at it, the default goes to anger and fear. Culture does not change easily. We have to be persistent. Kindness is defined as doing something for someone else with no expectation in return. Kindness is contagious and it's exponential. So if you want to change your neighborhood, your world, do a kind act. Kindness is a universal value. It's prominent in all the major religions of the world. And those that aren't religious, it's a universal value. It's not red, it's not blue. It cuts across politics. It's who we are as human beings. I believe it's why we're here as humans. It's to be kind to one another, it's to create relationships. It's to form community, to form resiliency. It's why we're here. So I'm coming to Portland as an outsider, a great city of creativity and collaboration, and there's tremendous civic pride of people who live here. But it's got a chance to show the world what kindness is all about with these tremendous fires that we've watched in horror. And like us all, COVID-19 and the unrest. Kindness, I believe, is the answer. Don't look to Washington. Don't look to the politicians to lead. This has to come from within, and it will be contagious because I think the whole world will be watching Portland and see how Portland heals itself from within holistically. Everything gets better when people are kind and you have a culture of kindness. Thank you.
What if I had 3 minutes to change the world? Now, before you start to think it's just another girl with her silly dreams, please do not close your eyes and ears, but listen to me, because I only have 3 minutes to change the world. Well, possibly 4. And I know you're probably thinking, what can I do in 3 minutes that you haven't done in the years before? Well, you see, we tend to put what if and change in the same sentence, almost as if it were a dream. And that's what it seems like. It's a possibility that's too far to reach. And then we start saying things like we tried everything to achieve change. For instance, putting people's pain and suffering on TV. And then we lie back wondering why people still ignore hunger, poverty, and racism. And notice I didn't say we lie back in our beautiful homes, or we lie back in our big offices, or we lie back in the comfort of heat and family. I didn't say this because we don't need that one politician, that one rich person, that one wealthy family. We don't need a complex solution. You don't take a kid suffering from starvation and say, here, take this 40-pound steak, go eat. He's just going to do what the world has done to us every time we offer change, a complex solution. Throw it up in our face. Harsh, I know, but we've pushed change too far as we watch natural disasters tear apart homes and families, always thinking change is just too far to reach. Yet there's still something that's in us that hungers, that thirsts, that desires after change. So we continue the pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of something different, the pursuit of something non-existent. But it's like running a race. And in the beginning, thinking you're gonna lose. The outcome, defeat. So we have to change our equation now from what if change a dream and make it a reality. So how? I know you're probably wondering, am I supposed to change the world in 3 minutes, possibly 4? Well, I'll show you how I took the equation what if and I changed it. Yes, I was the girl who said, what if my body was like that on TV? Yes, I was the girl who said, what if everyone could just like me? What if my hair were longer, my feet smaller, my voice higher? What if the tone of my skin was lighter? What if I was the definition of pretty? Like all those models on TV, I continued to say what if about myself until I realized I am not ugly, but society, well, it is. So I went into my closet, reached past the stilettos, grabbed the dirty sneakers, put on my favorite jeans, looked in the mirror and said, I am beautiful. Walked out the door, made it a reality. And if you still don't understand what I'm trying to say, I'll try to present it to you in another way. You see, what if time was of the essence and enforcing change wasn't my message and poetry wasn't my passage to infiltrate, motivate all young people's minds? And you'd be amazed to see what I'd find when I spit these words. Excuse me, I mean when I pronounce these adjectives, verbs, and adverbs. You see, all I want to do is change the world. And if I could have a simple conversation with you that would give you the motivation to keep trying, well, baby, that's when we start living a little more than surviving. I mean, dying. I mean, all we have to do is do things like listen to our youth. They're our future. So watch them work as I peel back the cover on their true words, what if. What if mom and dad weren't gone no more? What if these stereotypes never hit the top but stayed on the floor? What if my education was free? And I don't mean given to me, but safely, securely. Someone believed and I could have a dream, a what-if speech saying one day I'd be on the stage doing poetry. One day I'd be able to scream at the top of my lungs and no one would assume that I'm angry. One day I'd be able to say, yes, that's me. And ignorance and bliss is not the key. One day I'd be able to say, what if I had 3 minutes to change the world? I'd stand in front of hundreds of people and tell them not to change the world, but to change themselves. Common sense, yes? No. Because I learned a long time ago that common sense really isn't common at all. But anyways, the message would still go through and they would understand that what I stand for is true. And in 3 minutes, no, 4, I would have changed the world. It would have been like a fairy tale, like a dream come true, almost like a myth. But I guess it's only just what if. But what if?
Hey there, this is Marcus Harvey, the owner of Portland Gear and a longtime fan and supporter of TEDx Portland. Some of you may know this, but the 2014 TEDx Portland event was the first place that we unveiled our 1970s Volkswagen bus, which has now become incredibly important and part of our DNA. Fast forward to now, and the organization is celebrating 10 years of spreading love in Portland and sharing this message with the whole world. To commemorate this, we want to introduce a kindness campaign and a challenge of our own to do 30 acts of kindness over the next 30 days. We at Portland Gear want to be part of that kindness campaign. 30 acts of kindness over 30 days times all of the Portland people is tens of thousands of random acts of kindness. While you're doing the 30 consecutive days of random acts of kindness, be sure to tag us in your Instagram stories of you doing them. We will randomly send 50 people a TEDx Portland Gear hat, TEDx Portland Hydro Flask, and an upcycled tote bag. The shirts that we're making say just be kind. That's what we want to do. Proceeds from this shirt will go to supporting ticket scholarships for year 10. If we see you around Portland wearing one of our shirts, we might just surprise you with a random act of kindness. Put it on yourself, you can control your own actions and your words, be nice to other people, and let's make Portland a better place.
The date was April 20th, 2019. It was a Thursday night. After a drink, I stood up on stage with liquid courage and gave my first stand-up comedy performance to a live audience in a small-town bar in Corvallis, Oregon, with about 100 people in the room. Comedy has always been in my bones. I've always had a sense of humor and was raised to believe that laughter is the best medicine. This is the story of the night it all changed, and how an idea, coupled up with conviction, can change your life. For context, 2 years ago, I was your average college student. I was going to school full-time and working as a choir director at a local church. Currently, I work 2 part-time jobs. One as a barista at Dutch Bros Coffee, and the other as a music teacher for kids on the autism spectrum. But stand-up comedy has always been a passion project for me, a side hustle, something that has provoked the ultimate curiosity in me. It makes my heart full to charge after that dream. So I hopped up on stage that night, not wanting to live with regret anymore. Fast forward, my reality was graduating college into a global pandemic with a degree that had limited opportunities for employment. So what I want to do here today is combine 2 important things to provide perspective and hope moving forward. 1, a sense of humor, and 2, sprinkle some silver linings on what I have learned after reflecting on what 2020 has brought us, especially with COVID-19. Through laughter, levity, openness, and honesty, I want to create a space for you to reflect, just as I have. Now back to my funny bone. I would like to humor you with a comedy routine. With no laugh track and no live audience, this will be interesting. The virtual pressure's on. 2020 has been a unique leap year. It had 29 days in February, 300 days in March, and 5 years in April. And sidebar, Does springtime not feel like it was 2 years ago? No doubt aliens probably ride past Earth and lock their doors, right? My friends and I started addressing the days of the week as this day, that day, someday, others day, Blur's day. Well, on Blur's day last week, I was at the grocery store. I made eye contact with an attractive man in the meat aisle, and I thought it was love at first sight. When he left to go to his car, though, and pulled down his mask, let's just say the bottom half of his face did not match the eyes. I was being catfished by a mask. Mask fishing, if you will. And although masks are not ideal, they are great to wear around the house. Not so much for preventing COVID-19, but to stop eating. Along with wearing masks at home, this brings us to another scary topic, virtual homeschooling. Now, I'm not a mother and I don't have kids, but I am self-aware enough to know that this has been a hellscape for many families. It's honestly terrifying to think that in 20 years, our country will be run by people homeschooled by day drinkers. When asking people what their hardest experience has been during this global pandemic, I never imagined their answer would be teaching elementary school math. COVID-19 should be renamed the Common Core virus, because this just is not adding up. I went to nanny for a family last week, and the mom was in the back having a parent-teacher conference with herself, while the kids were in the back dancing to WAP by Cardi B. Honest question for future knowledge, does having your child make you mix drinks count as chemistry? Seriously though, shout out to all the teachers out there. We love you and we appreciate you more than you know. Switching gears to Mother Nature, along with the deadly global virus, the powers decided, let's add wildfires to the mix. With cannabis farms burning down, it was incredible to see all the volunteers that came to put it out. Although, 10 minutes into volunteering, they all got contact high and sat around the fire singing Grateful Dead and Fish tunes. They left with a smile on their face, glossy eyes, and ate through the entire 7-Eleven on their way home. During the past 7 months, my days consist of work, eating, thinking about working out, and not working out, ignoring my thigh master, and Netflix. How many of us can agree that we have officially finished Netflix? Not a series or a movie, but the entirety of Netflix. And if you're not raising your hand right now, you're lying. I hate when Netflix asks you, are you still watching? And you see a reflection in the black screen. Terrifying. Most recently, I finished watching The Last Dance. I know, I'm late to the game. It came out months ago. But seriously, Michael Jordan's facial expressions were the same faces I was making every single time the lockdown extended another 3 weeks. Now, we've all heard the term Netflix and chill, but how can we chill in quarantine? And the answer's simple. Wear a mask and snuggle with your dog on the couch. Who needs a relationship when you have a dog anyways? Speaking of dogs, I'm kind of starting to understand why they try to run out of the house every day when the door opens. Last week, my dog looked at me like, see, this is why I chew the furniture. Real talk. Before going into 2021, I'm gonna need to see some terms and conditions. Anyone wanna place bets? Volcano? Locust? Asteroid? New Nickelback album? I suggest you channel your inner Carol Baskin, Beth Dutton, or Mamba mentality to get us through whatever is coming next. Now, on a more serious note, this year has brought us a deadly global pandemic, a global movement for racial justice and equity, and the tragic deaths of icons and leaders we looked up to. In this past month alone, it felt like the entire West Coast and my home state was burning down. Thousands were displaced and lost their homes. Heartbreakingly sad. With our quarantine orders, financial instability, natural disasters, and human rights issues, how can one be happy? And the answer is simple. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. My idea that I would like to share with you is grounded with intention, that you may have the courage to break the patterns in your life that are no longer serving you, to create space for yourself, and to be kind to yourself. This is not about wishful thinking or serendipitous scenarios. It is about being planful and designing your life the way it should be lived. If you can't do anything about it, then let it go. Don't be a prisoner to the things you can't change. And remember, laughter is a medicine that you can prescribe. Now, in your quest to be kind to yourself and others, let me share a list of 7 things that require 0 talent that I believe in. 1. Keeping in touch with friends and family. There's no excuse not to now with the power of Zoom. 2. Give yourself positive reinforcement. I got this. I matter. 3. Treating yourself. Lean into those simple pleasures. Take care of your physical and mental health. 4. Accept the things you can't change. Just move on. 5. Go the extra mile. Leave something better than you found it. 6. Be prepared. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. 7. Try out new hobbies and passions. For me, it's comedy. For you, it could be something completely different. In conclusion, let me leave you with this question. When was the last time you did something for the first time? Think about that. For me, it was jumping on stage 18 months ago in a comedy club. Don't forget to laugh and seek out the humor that is around us, and in turn, create the kindness you deserve in your life. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kary, and this is Carmen from Audi Beaverton. Audi has been the official car of TEDxPortland for 5 years.
The Audi Beaverton family is a part of a 40-year legacy of driving kindness for our surrounding community.
We've donated about $4 million to area charities focused on doing good for others in a time of crisis. Organizations like the Dougie Center, who provide a safe and supportive space where those grieving a death can share their experiences.
Or the Children's Cancer Association, who transforms the pediatric healthcare experience with joy-based programs, enhancing the mental and emotional well-being of pediatric patients.
Kindness is a beautiful trait we can all share. It drives us to act courageously and compassionately to our friends and neighbors. We are always driven by kindness, and that means never resting to make our communities a better place.
We want to ask you, how are you driven by kindness to help others in a time of crisis? We challenge you to explore new ways to demonstrate kindness to others and share those ideas with us.
Tell us about what you're doing, what motivated you to do it, and how you're helping to spread kindness in your community. At the end of November, we will select one person to partner with us at Audi Beaverton to amplify your kindness.
Visit audibeaverton.com/kindness.htm or tag us on Instagram at Audi Beaverton and share your story. We can't wait to help spread kindness with you.
I want you to think about the places that you need to go, the places that you think you can't be at. Who are your advocates? And most importantly, who are you an advocate for? If you can't think of someone right away, then you're not where you're supposed to be. I want you to help us defy statistics. I want you to think about being someone's advocate, about being someone's Jan. We can all be advocates. I want you to think about the places you're not supposed to go, but you should go.
Now to a very personal story of finding the true gift of a family secret. TEDx Portland speaker Kary Youman revealed a doozy on stage last year. For the first time in his life, he learned the identity of his biological father, a Grammy-nominated songwriter who he hadn't met, and he announced it on stage.
So Robert, I know you're watching this. Thank you for coming into my life. I look forward to connecting with you in person and reimagining what is possible for us. To be continued.
Then, later that year, they did meet, and I got a chance to interview Kary and his father, Robert Palmer, just hours after their first face-to-face.
Just to have the opportunity to connect with him and see him and look in his eyes, like it really warmed my heart, and I just so much appreciation, so much gratitude for it.
So,
Yeah.
Robert, what did that moment mean for you?
I just got so overwhelmed. It was just unbelievable. Just to be in his life after all this time and to find him out of nowhere. Literally, it just was surreal.
As I've learned, finding his biological father was the beginning of a cherished new chapter in Kary's life. Kary, it is so great to see you.
So good to see you, Brenda.
So your dad moved to Portland full-time in early March, just before the pandemic shut everything down. How are you guys doing now?
We're doing really well. It's pretty amazing that he moved here as soon as the world shut down. But in spite of that, I'm super grateful that him and I have been able to just dive deeper into our relationship. Since that last time we spoke, I've had two siblings who've moved here as well. I had a chance to meet with them just a couple of weeks ago, and that was great to take a photo and just connect. It's been really cool, pretty magical.
So I've worked with you enough. I know that you are a man with a really big heart, and that is reflected in your professional work. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you do and how kindness plays into that?
Absolutely. So I work at a local creative agency with about 300 people, and I work in the human development department. We talk about issues around diversity, equity, and inclusion, and just overall leadership development. For me, it's just showing up with kindness and giving people a platform to just bring their best self to work. I've found that has been the #1 way for me to gain trust and to grow within the company.
So empowerment is one of the things that you get from a kind leader. Can you say more about what else?
Absolutely. Well, I think too, you build trust and authenticity. You know, I think we live in a world again where maybe there was a time where looking like you were made of, steel was the look for a leader, but I think now people want to, especially like the millennial generation, like being a part of that, I recognize that we really want to see authenticity. We really want to see someone who's willing to be vulnerable and willing to call out maybe their shortcomings. But I think kindness in general creates that space for people to be able to show up in that way, not be perfect, and as a result, I think people can look to that type of leader and say, wow, this person is running this multi-million-dollar company, but yet they care about me. They're willing to admit their mistakes, and they're curious to know who I am. And I think again, it goes back to just having a natural curiosity to get to know who someone is. I think through that you empower people to be who they are, and as a result, you just have a much closer workforce.
So how can we kind of engender more kindness in ourselves?
That's a great question, Brenda, and I think it's different for everyone. But for me personally, I find that just taking 20 minutes out of my day each morning to just sit in gratitude, and that looks different for a lot of people. For me, my meditation practice has been essentially the foundation for me to go out into the world. But I think when you can just take 20 minutes or so, even 10 minutes, to just sit down and breathe and just be with yourself, you start to recognize that the thoughts and all the different things that might trouble you trouble everyone. Like no one has this unique situation where they're more stressed out than the other person. I think it's just how do you harness and manage that? So for me, it's like if I'm going to show up and be a place of strength and encouragement and empowerment and kindness for my coworker or for my family or for a stranger, I have to have that already coming out, because otherwise I think people can pick up on that, and then it's just not authentic and it loses all its value. So I think for me, it's important for me to start by just looking at myself first, being patient and compassionate with myself, and then going out into the world and just shining that light the best way I can.
So I understand that one of your favorite quotes is, "We rise by lifting others." Walk me through what that means to you.
Yeah, I get chills every time I hear that quote. And growing up, I played a lot of sports, and there was a time where you see kind of that one person who's taking all the shots and they're scoring all the points, and it looks cool. But when you're on a team with someone who's like that, it's not fun. And just kind of taking that analogy a little bit further, I just realized that when I played on a team where we would pass the ball more times than we would shoot the ball and pick each other up and encourage each other to take more shots, as a whole, it empowers the whole team. And I think that type of kindness really does lift everyone. Because if the weakest link can't roll with the strongest link, I think you have a broken down team. And I think ultimately when you can reach out to the weakest link and lift them up, the entire team is stronger as a whole.
But do you think that kindness is often mistaken for weakness?
I think people mistake kindness for weakness all the time. And again, I feel like we live in a society where, you know, the loudest person in the room, the most confident person in the room is the one who, you know, gets the promotion or moves forward. But what I'm realizing now is that people who are showing up and actually caring for people and asking more questions and just digging deeper into some of these more personal attributes about someone, that's what true leadership is starting to become today. People want to feel like they feel cared for before they put the time and energy into, you know, making an organization millions of dollars.
Can you say more about what kind leaders do well?
The first thing that comes to mind, Brenda, is I think kind leaders, they listen and they listen deeper. And then from that, I think they're able to just make a more calculated decision. I think a lot of people in power positions feel like they're in that position because they know a lot. I'm in this position because I know a lot. But I think if a leader isn't taking a moment to learn from a junior, they're missing out on so many opportunities that would continue to move that organization and just those people in that organization further. So I think ultimately a kind leader could just take a moment to just use those 2 ears to listen twice and speak once.
So I know that all of us could probably improve our kindness quotient, especially at work. How do we start to do that with our colleagues? What's the best way to go about it?
You know, I think there's kindness, and I think right alongside that parallel is curiosity. And for me, I feel like we have to stay curious. You know, again, you know, especially now being in a pandemic, you know, we're kind of getting used to being around the same people. Those circles aren't opening up. It's really easy to shut off and feel like you know everything about this person because you've had a couple of interactions and you box them. And I think, again, kindness really starts with us having that curiosity to want to go deeper with someone or with a situation or with the team and just ask questions. When people can see that you genuinely care about them and want to learn about them before you tell them all about you, again, I mean, that's kindness 101, you know, care about someone, learning about someone before you go out of your way to feel like you need to tell them everything about you.
Kary, do you think that kindness is actually contagious?
Well, just like TEDx, you know, ideas worth spreading, I feel like kindness is the same way. It's worth spreading and it's so contagious.
Yeah, I totally get that. Kary, what an amazing day. We're up here on this rooftop in Southeast Portland. The city's behind us. Give us some inspiration. How can we as Portlanders end the year on a more positive note?
You know, I don't think any of us could have planned for 2020 to unravel the way it has so far. It's been challenging for a lot of us. And I think also too, in the midst of an election year, it adds pressure. And, you know, again, it just goes back to leading with kindness, you know, allowing yourself to have compassion and empathy for your family, your coworkers, for a stranger. It's really that simple, you know. Kindness is not a talent. It's not something that you need to be born with. So if I could just say one thing to the city of Portland, ultimately that would be, when in doubt, lead with kindness.
You are an amazing spokesperson for kindness. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brenda. It was really good to see you.
You know, we didn't choose this, but this is where we are.
Quarantine has been tough. It came out of nowhere.
I was nervous, of course, about what things were going to look like.
Completely normal social college life, right into a quarantine life.
What started as a global health crisis has become a seismic shift, an irreversible turning point. But the future isn't defined by our latest crisis. It's in the small choices we make every day.
I just hope to be a better person.
We're all in this together. I'm gonna give it my all and see how it goes.
Small choices add up to big change.
I choose to do what is right, not what is easy.
I choose to mask up.
I choose to support my community.
I choose to take a stand.
Let's choose to make a difference.
Let's choose each other.
KGW works to make our community better every day. We're inspired by people coming together, doing good things, and supporting our neighbors. When that happens, it's powerful. KGW, committed to making a difference.
What I have learned is that what got me here today is that I always wanted to be perfect. I have learned now that I will never achieve that. In fact, I'm so far away from it. But the journey is incredible. The more interesting part is that I find it never ends. The bar is always higher and higher. No matter how bad situation you're in, believe in yourself. Believe that you can do it, and more importantly, do it. One day, you got the opportunity, make it big. Make it more than what people expected. You might be surprised of the outcome. Thank you.
Kevin, it's amazing to see you. Boy, as the world slowly starts to reopen and we try and get back to normal, what are you not in a rush to get back to normal to?
Oh, that's a good question. It's tricky. When people ask me how I'm doing, I'm saying oddly fine. I say oddly because I don't think I should be fine, but I'm really fine. My kids are home from school. We have arguments and they have to stay in the house and we have to get to the other side of the argument. That's a weird thing that I never would have had the advantage of doing if it wasn't for this pandemic. I like working from home enough. I miss human interaction, but I'm not looking forward to sprinting. I've been sprinting for about 4 years, but I'm running a marathon and it's just not healthy. So I like the forced slowdown. I like that I can pause, and I don't make any meetings now before 9:30, and I don't make any meetings after 4:30, and I don't look at the computer on the weekends, and I don't want to go back to the other world. Not right now.
But do you think that you will make some of those changes permanent once we do get back to, I'm not going to call it the new normal, I'm going to call it the next chapter.
No, I like you calling it that. That makes sense. I prefer that language too. Yeah, like I've talked to my coworkers. There's 6 plus me. We all share an open office, and we miss each other. We have Zoom calls. We don't miss Zoom. We're pretty tired of Zoom. We're pretty tired of video conferencing. But like we hug each other. Like I haven't hugged anyone that's not my family in too long. So I miss that. I miss a lot of things, but we are likely not going to work 5-day work weeks when we come back to work. We're getting a lot accomplished, and we don't have to. Someone gave us the recipe for how you work. You work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And we just kind of all have accepted that as, I guess that's what our parents did, that's what our grandparents did, that's normal. And now we all know if that works or not for our specific industries. For my industry, I can get a lot accomplished without having to follow those footsteps, follow that calendar.
I can just imagine you're going to get a flood of new applications. Not a 5-day work week, we're in. Kevin, can you tell me a little bit about your crazy floral pants that you were wearing in your TED Talk? So your son Jack actually made them out of his grandmother's couch. Do you still wear those? Are they still in the closet rotation?
They are. They're not very comfortable. The cut is perfect. What he did is he said, Dad, he was back in college in New York. He was basically cutting his classes and taking as many fashion classes as he could and interning at fashion lines down in Manhattan. And he said, send me your best fitting pair of slacks. So I mailed them to him, and then he mailed me 2 pair of pants back. He took my pants apart and then used them as a template, and then went down to the garment district. And he actually, it wasn't his grandma's sofa. He just went down and asked for, like, I want old lady couch material. So they sent him in the back room, and then he chose the gaudiest material, and he mailed me back 2 pair of pants, and they fit really well. They're just made of upholstery, so they're not super comfortable. I wear them 5 or 6 times a year.
That is hilarious, and I love the spirit of it. That is a creative kid.
Kevin, can you tell me a little bit about what this pandemic has taught you, first as a businessman and then as a family man?
Oh, good question. As a businessman, it's pretty easy. I sat around with my coworkers right out of the gate, and we asked, what are we going to do? We're landlords. We own buildings, and we rent them out. We have 107 tenants. Most of them are commercial, and they're all, in real time, we're all having the same conversation, which is, what the hell is going on? Like, what are we going to do? What does this week look like, let alone next month? I talk about building a bridge to dry land. Every business is trying to build a bridge to dry land, and we just don't know where that dry land is. Is it October? Is it next February? So we all sat around before we started working from home, knowing this was coming, and we all decided that we just have to be kind. Like, no matter what, we can't be the reason anyone fails. We as the landlord. So as a businessman, the decision was pretty simple and easy. Just put a big, fat, kind filter over everything we do and everything we say. As a family man, we had a pretty, to use my wife's word, yummy. We had a pretty yummy family beforehand, and it's pretty yummy now. And we've always liked family dinners, and now we have them every damn night, and it's great. I'm not a really good cook, but my middle kid made creme brulee last night. It was fantastic. We own a blowtorch. I mean, it's the best.
Those are all just beautiful blessings all the way around. So you touched on it. You have 20 plus buildings, 100 plus tenants. But how are you making all that pencil out? Because people can't pay their rent, and that rolls not downhill, I guess you would be uphill, but how does all that work? How are you making ends meet when people can't pay you?
I mean, so everybody in the food chain, and it's a long food chain, from the janitor to the customer to the tenant to me and my small property management company, and I am an owner as well. There's a bank that has a mortgage, and then there's the investors that have given me a lot of money, and they expect some kind of, everyone has expectations. If we all just, I've reached out to all of them, and I'm spending most of my time on the phone and talking people off ledges, telling my tenants that it's gonna be okay, telling my investors, like, we're probably not gonna get a check this quarter. Is that okay? You don't buy groceries with this money anyway. You're a high net worth individual. I care about the building, our asset. Like, this is a lifetime ownership for us. Let's take care of right now and make sure, because next year is gonna be fine. Let's just get to next year and the year beyond. And the kinder we are with our tenants, those are folk who have been paying us rent for the longest time and will be paying us rent a year from now. The math works. My banks have been really kind. 19 out of 20 banks have said, what do you need, Kevin? And what can you pay? Show us your math. And it all works. It's really unsexy. It's really, survival is the new success. So I'm just surviving to the year 2021. And everyone is playing nicely in the sandbox. And as soon as anyone doesn't, then it's a drag and it's messy, and I spend a lot of my time fixing that. But so far, so good. Because I think it's because you just lead with kindness, and a lot of other folk are out there doing the same thing.
Okay, Kevin, you have to leave us with a final word for all the TEDsters who are out there watching.
So every day I think about my restaurant tenants, for example. And in this town, we want to be cheek to jowl. We want to be in that fun, buzzing room of excitement, whether there's food being served, or whether it's a fascinating bar, or whether it's the Moda Center, whether it's Keller, whether it's a huge event where I'm sitting and I just hear and feel the audience. I know restaurants will be back. I emphatically know that. We do that really well. The TEDx team does parties better than anyone in town, and we all can't wait to be cheek to jowl. On May 29th, it's gonna be the Super Bowl for Portland. We're gonna be excited to be in that room, and I know it's gonna happen. It just can't happen fast enough for me.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Brenda.
My family has been running a knitting company in Portland for nearly 100 years. We are passionate about it. We are dedicated to it. We take an incredible amount of pride in our product. We believe in heavy-duty, old-school truth. Our sweaters are made of over 3 pounds of wool and can be passed down through generations. If you were to unravel one of our sweaters, you would be astonished to find nearly 8 miles of yarn. Every garment has 247 years of experience knit into it. We are proudly American, we are proudly Portland, and we are proudly independent. But most importantly, we have created a family atmosphere within our organization that is built on love, respect, and pride in our product and who we are.
Journalists, keep going and stay humble. We may know a little about a lot, but few of us know enough about anything to have an opinion that matters. So we dig for the facts that do matter from all sides and then fight like hell to tell them. And potential future journalists, your country needs you. Journalism is war, a fight every day for truth. And it takes more than being curious and knowing how to write or blog or shoot a video or ask questions. It takes courage, and most of all, it takes integrity. Because journalism is only as good as the people who practice it and their willingness to stand up and fight for the stories that mean something. You will face a lack of resources. You will be denied access. People will refuse to give you interviews. Editors and executive producers will give you impossible deadlines and not enough time or space to tell your stories. But after nearly 40 years at this, I still stand here before you and can honestly say with all my heart, journalism is a noble calling, a way to serve people and respond like an EMT or an emergency room doctor in a crisis with information they may need. If you work for the people and not for those who pay your checks, you will make the right choices about who to interview, what to ask, and how to tell your stories. And this will bring your news organizations value that will make even your bosses happy. Do it even though you may never know the impact of your stories. Do it even if you know you will be criticized. But get it right, which you will find is far more important than getting it first.
Thank you for watching this TEDx Portland special on kindness. We hope you've learned something and been inspired. We'll see you next time.